What up, YouTube? Alays coming at you with another Starcraft 2 replay. On the bottom left-hand side of the map, we have our red Protoss player, Especialista. We'll call him Especial for short, just to keep things easier on us here. On the top right-hand side of the map, we have our blue Terran player, Arto, who you might recognize from one of my previous casts. He sent me about 3 games to take a look at, which I do greatly appreciate. It's been a bit of a long day for me, so I'm quite tired. This is my second recording of the day, and I woke up at 4 a.m. to catch a flight back home after the holidays. So I'm quite tired, but I was messing around with my recording software, and it seems to be running a lot smoother, and I was just way too excited to try it out and see how this video turns out. This is only my 6th or 7th cast, so you guys are along on this journey with me. We'll see how this goes. Looks like Especial coming in with a scout here. Doing some very cheeky maneuvers. Oh, Arto coming at this probe with quite a few workers. Will not get this. In fact, doesn't even get the shields down. Especial taking a good look at the base. Running around the corners here. And ultimately escapes with that probe. Nothing too unusual going on. No cannon rush. This is a gateway first into a nexus. Relatively standard, although I'm not sure about the placement of these buildings. I do like... I do see the purpose here. Effectively, this is in an attempt to block, or at the very least, spot any sort of Reapers incoming, trying to block the ramp here so the Reaper can't jump up. So we will see if that's what ends up happening. It was a Marine first in terms of army units here, so Especial does not have to worry about any sort of Reaper harassment anytime soon. He is going for a reactor here, destroying these unbuildable plates. These do tend to get misclicked, but not a huge deal. At the same time, the worker's not doing anything, so it's not really anything to be concerned about. This is, by the way, a silver versus silver matchup. So we will see what these players have in store for us. They do have pretty good knowledge of what they should be doing. Warp gate is being researched. We have 2 adepts on the way here. Protoss may very well harass with these. We'll see. This adept is so far standing still, blending into this gateway here. I do love how Protoss look. I am a Protoss player, so I am quite biased in that regard. We do have a starport coming down. Tech lab coming onto this factory here. Reactor on the barracks, double pumping out Marines. I do like how Arto is being diligent about creating the orbital commands. In the lower level games, sometimes the orbital command is an ignored feature of the command center. But these mules will increase Arto's economy by quite a bit here. On the Protoss side, we do have 4 adepts with 2 more on the way here. I do like this setup by Protoss as well, throwing down a shield battery behind some production buildings here and creating not an entirely closed off wall, but a decent enough wall. This is something you would usually see going against Zerg. Terran could post up with siege weapons here, like tanks, and start throwing down on these warp gates. We do see a move out here with a tank. Especial might be able to hold off. We do have the medevac and a fairly decent army composition for the 5-minute mark. Again, this is a silver level game. So we aren't going to be expecting any crazy high-level play, but we do see a move out by both players at the same time. This could get interesting here. A decent amount of adepts, 6 adepts against 4 marines. They will not survive 6 marines. Even so, adepts are very good against pure marine this early in the game. We do not have glaives. Glaives is not being researched. We do have a Stargate and a robotics facility. Protoss could be making use of that, as you can see in the top right hand side here. He is floating quite a bit of minerals, but we do see that the adepts are in the base. They are taking quite a bit of hits from this siege tank. Gets 2 kills on this siege tank. Good call here, using a bunker. The adepts would be able to shade around the bunker, but the bunker will hold this ramp in case Protoss wants to play tag or psych out the Terran. And we have the tank in a very good position here. Good reaction time. Moving these SCVs out of the mineral line just as the adepts shade in. Taking a look at our workers killed here. 3 workers killed by the Protoss. All things considered, could be a lot worse. I do like the placement of the siege tank here. Arto should be making use of the second siege tank, putting one in the upper area of the main base to protect the mineral line in the main and the mineral line in the natural, which is exactly what he's doing. And this whole time, Arto not moving out with any of these units here. We do have a shield battery and some stalkers. They might potentially hold this. Again, silver level game. The micro and focus right now is on the harassment here, so I do understand what's happening. It can get very difficult to micromanage multiple parts of the map while you're dealing with a relatively unique form of harassment. Adepts are a hassle. When they start jumping between bases, it can get very frustrating. That shade ability is just so good in the early game. So I do understand Arto's focus on his main base and his mineral line. But it does look like he is preparing to siege up here. Still a bit of a slow response. It's possible he's waiting for the rest of his army to come reinforce this position. The stalkers, unsuspecting stalkers, just watching their stargates, or sorry, warp gates, get bombarded by siege tanks. Ooh, kind of getting caught in his own choke point there. Arto doing a great job at forcing the Protoss to stay in his own base. I do like the use of the Immortal here. He will be able to get hit by siege tanks if Terran decides to scan this. But Immortal, a very good counter against the siege tank and the Marauder. The only issue is these Marines could snipe this Immortal here. The Immortal only does extra damage to the siege tank, and there's only 2 siege tanks here. Throwing down that Immortal, great job pulling that back to the shield battery. May be able to take this down. Does take down that siege tank. Maybe, nope, does not get the second siege tank. That was just a poor engagement from Protoss. His army sort of trickled in to the firing line of this this composition here by Arto. Does lose that observer there, so now he does not have eyes on this army. Behind all this, I do like Arto's expanding into a third base. We do have a third base from Especial here as well, which would be an easy target for Arto, but he's fixated on this army here. The Void Ray's doing a good job at pushing this back, but it's only 2 Void Rays. These Marines would be able to snipe both of these if he had a good engagement. Right now, I do like Arto being a bit more cautious here. There's no reason at this point to overextend. He's in a great spot. He's got 3 expansions, starting to saturate his third base here. This base is a sitting duck. We also have quite a bit of minerals, 3,500 resources total, if we're including the gas here on the Protoss side. Oh, it does look like Arto has now spotted this third base. Just as these poor probes decide to saturate it, they will go down. Absolutely melted this base here. Especial trying very briefly to defend this, but leaves the game immediately with no GG, leaving Arto, our blue Terran player, victorious. That was an interesting game. You know, again, a silver level game. So I do understand the micromanagement here is a little bit difficult if you have adepts jumping between your main and your natural. As I said earlier, he did have an attack set up here, but his main focus was keeping his minerals safe and keeping his economy safe. So I do understand that fixation there. It can get very difficult when you're dealing with harassment such as adepts. They can become very aggressive and very frustrating to deal with. So once he rearranged his army here, took care of the adepts, that was when he was able to start putting down his own aggression and effectively lock the Protoss army onto this ramp here. He did have this third base, but by the time it was saturated, it was just melted by Arto. So good game all in all. Quite a good game for silver, if I'm being honest. I think that was both these players are probably well on their way to gold if they're not already in gold. So great game. And that's it for me today. Again, I am tired, so I'm a little bit of a delirious caster right now, but I just really wanted to see how this game came out in terms of my recording software. So anyway, if you liked what you saw, please shoot me a like and subscribe, and I will see you guys on the next one.